Hello guys, welcome to Beginner's Guide. Today I'm going to teach you a simple project using JavaScript. So we are just going to use JavaScript to create this project. This is basically a theme toggler. It has got light mode and dark mode, and when you choose the color here, I'm sure that you can able to see the background color for that particular container is changing. So this is exactly what I'm going to be teaching you today using JavaScript. By the way, it's a tutorial for JavaScript. My focus will be on JavaScript, not on CSS and HTML. The assumption is you know CSS and HTML. In case if you need the CSS and HTML for the same project that I'm doing, kindly let me know through the comment section so that I should be able to share the code with you. Let me just quickly show you what I have in my HTML and CSS. As you can see them here, this is my HTML, which is very simple. Here I have the links for the font awesome, because there will be some icons that I'm using. If you could go back, I'm sure that these are the icons. There is a hamburger symbol. When I click this one, there is this slide bar coming, then there is this closing icon. For these icons I'm using some font awesome icons. That's for the same reason I included the CDN for the same. This is simply my CSS that I have for this particular HTML document. And if you could see my HTML, this is for that hamburger symbol that you see them in the design. I'm using the font awesome, and then what you see them here is simply a container where I have those themes. One is a light theme, another one is a dark theme. I simply have some classes for them. As you can see, this one is for the closing icon, and there is simply a label, as you can see them here, saying switch theme, for you to able to select the theme. And then here I have the div where I have the labels as light and dark, and then there is a class here named called toggler. So this is a class that we are going to target for us to switch between the light mode and the dark mode. And then here, as you can see, there is a title saying pick a color. As you can see, there is a pick a color title. Down here I have got different colors. These colors, you can have any colors that you would want. So for now I chose these colors. I just wrapped all of these things into this div with a class name called theme colors. That's exactly what I have for my HTML. Let me go back to my CSS just to show you what I have there. As you can see them here, I'm using the CSS custom properties, also known as CSS variables. The thing that you see them here, root, is basically a pseudo class, and it is typically used to define global variables that can be accessed throughout the entire document. For examples, variables like main color, this black, PG are declared and can be reused anywhere in your CSS by using a function name called var. I hope you know, like this. You can use a function name like var so that you can have an access to these global variable values throughout your document. These variables actually make it easy to manage for consistent styling across your CSS by allowing the changes to be made in one place, and they also support more dynamic themes, theming. So this is basically what I have in my CSS. If you want, you can pause the video and copy the code to come up with the design like the way that I have, or you can just create your own CSS and HTML to have a design that I have. So let me just scroll through my CSS so that you will have an idea about how my design is looking like this using the CSS that I have used. Here is my CSS. By the way, if you like this video, do not forget to hit the like button. In case if you want the CSS and HTML, let's say for example you're not comfortable in CSS and HTML, let me know through comment section so that I can able to share this code with you, right? So this is basically the CSS that I have for the HTML code that I have showed you. This is the end of CSS. Now let's get into the JavaScript to create a design like this. So I have this container. Inside there is an image, there is some text here, there is a button here. When I hover on this button, there is some activity on the button. I'm sure that you can able to see, but when I click on that button, nothing is going to happen because my focus is more on the theme toggler here. So when I click on this hamburger, this side menu comes. Here I have the themes, light and dark, as you can see. Based on the color that I choose from here, I'm sure that you can able to see the background color of my image is been changing. Right now, let's get into the JavaScript so that we can able to understand. So I'm going to create a file here. Where can I create? Maybe I will just create it here. I'm going to give a name as script.js, where I'm going to keep my JavaScript. So the next step is to include this one inside your HTML document. So for that, as you can see them here towards the end, this is a syntax for you to include the JavaScript. I hope you know script.js is the name of the file that I have created. I have included this JavaScript file inside my HTML. So now the next thing is, if I run this one, let me just open so that you would know how does this one would look like. So this is how it's going to look like with the HTML and CSS that you have. This is how the design is going to look like. There is this image, there is a container here, there is a heading here, there is a small paragraph here, there is a button here. Because of the CSS that I have, when I hover on this button, I'm sure that you can able to see some activity here. But here is my hamburger symbol, but when I click on that one, nothing will happen. So to make it interactive, to make things happen here, we are going to make use of JavaScript. So the first thing that I'm going to do them here is to target this hamburger symbol, so that when I click on this hamburger symbol, some activities can take place. So for the same, what I'm going to do, I'm going to my JavaScript file. First, I need to target that theme toggler. So for that, I'm going to the HTML. I need to identify the class name that I have given for that theme toggler. I think this is where my theme toggler class is. So I'm going to target this class. The reason why that I'm targeting this one is because when I switch between the light mode and a dark mode, I want to change the themes, right? So I'm going to target on this class, and then I want to store this one into a variable. For the same, I'm going to create a variable. To create a variable, I'm going to say let is the name of the variable. So in this variable, I'm going to store this class for this theme toggler. So let me just copy this. I'm going to use document.query selector method. Inside, I'm going to pass the class name. So the class name here is theme toggler. So in case if you want to have an access to the theme toggler, you can target this variable that you have. So the reason why that you are doing this is because this particular line tells the browser to go and find the element in the HTML document that has the class name called theme toggler, so that it can be allowed to manipulate it later by sorting it in a variable called theme toggler that you have them here. So the next thing is, I'm going to add an event. When I say I'm going to add an event, so if you can go back to the original design, when I click on this button, it's moving right side and to the left side. Based on this movement, I'm making a change in the theme. So for that, I need to target this button with an event, so that when I click on this one, some actions can happen. So for the same, what I'm going to do, for this particular button, I have already have the variable. So I'm going to make use of this variable, because this is a variable who have an access to that theme toggler. I hope you still remember, as you can see them here. So what I'm going to do them here in the next step, I'm going to target that particular variable that I created. I'm going to say dot, when I click on that button, I want things to be happening. So let me say I'm going to create a simple arrow function. So within this arrow function, I have to specify what exactly do you want to perform. So I'm going to inform the browser to say, hey browser, you know what, when the user clicks on the theme toggler, do the following things. What is that following things? I'm going to use the variable theme toggler dot class list dot toggle. Toggle is a function. So this toggle function, I'm going to set it to active. Why are we doing that? Because we want something to happen when the user clicks on the toggle button, Specifically, we want the page to switch between light and dark mode. So we attach a click event to the button, and then using that event we are coming up with this class. So this method that you see them here, class list.toggle active, is a handy way to add or remove the active class to the button. So this active class controls whether the button shows light mode or dark. Now the next step is to check whether the button is active or not. Why do we need to do this? We need to know whether the toggle button is in dark mode or light mode. Depending on that, we will either apply a dark mode or light mode to the page. So to do that, this is a code that we are going to use. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to say if toggler dot class list dot contains active, then I'm going to say document dot body class list dot add active, or else let me just copy paste this one. This time I'm not going to use the method name as add. I hope you have guessed. I'm going to use the method name as remove. How does this thing work? This code actually checks if the button has an active class, which means dark mode. If it does, we add the active class to the body of the element. In the CSS, this body.active switches the entire page to dark mode. If not, we remove the active class and the page goes back to the light mode. This is exactly what you are seeing them here. I hope that makes sense, right? So what is the next step? After checking whether the button is active or not, what is the next step? Let me go back to the design. Now we need to start working on this color picker options. We want our users to be able to change the background color. Let's say for example, when they click this one, we should be able to change the background color of the content section by clicking one of these color boxes. Whatever the color box that I check, the color should be able to change, isn't it so? For that, we need to iterate through, or I would say we need to loop through all the color options that we have them here, and we also need to add an action for each of these colors, so that when you click on these buttons, these colors will be applied to this container as a background color. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to select all the colors that you see them here in the pick color option. So for that, let me go back to my code. Where is the class for that different colors? If you could go down here, I'm sure that you can able to see all these colors that you are seeing them here has a class name called color. Who is the parent to this color class? Theme color. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to target this div with the class name called color. When I say class name called color, this color is actually a child of these theme colors. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going here, I'm going to type, this time I'm going to use query selector all, so that it can able to select all the childs of that theme colors class. So here I'm going to say from the theme color, let me just copy from here so that I won't make any mistake. From the theme colors, what is the child class? I hope you still remember the child class was color. So you want to iterate through all the colors from that color options. So for that, I'm going to use for each loop, and then I want to pick each color from that color palette. Let me use the arrow function here. So what am I going to do? When I select one particular color, let's say for example, I'm going to select one particular color. So for me to refer one particular color from that entire color list, I'm going to use color dot on click. When I click any of the colors from that color palette, I want to perform some action. That's exactly what I'm going to write them here. So what is the action are you going to perform them there? I'm simply going to, what is it happening here? when you choose a color, it's basically changing the background of this particular container, isn't it so? So for that, I need to write the logic. When you choose the particular color from the color palette, go and change the background color. For you to change the background color, how do you change that one? So I'm going to say color, the color that you selected, dot style dot, what do you want to change? You want to change the background. So I'm going to write background. So style, when you choose the color, you're going to change the color of the background, and then I want to create a variable to store this one. So let me just say background as the name of the variable. So what you see them here is simply when you select a particular color, what you want to do them here is to change the background color of that particular container. For that, again inside I'm going to use document dot query selector method. Now where do you want to change the color? Let me go back. When you click this one, you want to bring that background color to this container, isn't it so? So we need to go to the HTML document to identify the class name for this container where we are placing this image and this text and the button. So what is the name of the class for that one? Let's go back to the HTML. I have this container name called container, and then I need to target this child class content so that I can able to change the background. As you can see them here, this is where my image is, this is where those text messages and the buttons that you are seeing them there. So I need to target this container with the child class content so that when you click that specific color box from the design, it can able to select that color, and then it should be able to change the background color. So for the same, here I'm going to say, let me just copy this. This is a container, and then the child class there is a content. I hope you remember, right? So for that, you want to change the background color, isn't it so? So I'm going to say dot style dot background color. This is background color. What will be the background color? The color you actually select. Where is the color that you actually select? You have already stored them into this variable name called background. So I'm going to set this one to a background. I hope this makes sense. I'm going to put a semicolon here. So what have we done here? You choose a color here. When you choose a color, it has to go to this container which has a subclass name as content and change the background color. That is exactly what you are seeing them there. I hope this makes sense. So now let us go back to our original design. Let me refresh. When I click this one, okay, at the moment we have not done anything for this hamburger symbol. When you click on this hamburger sign, it has to bring that side menu, isn't it? So we have not done anything yet. That's the reason why we are having this issue. Now let us work on this hamburger menu so that when I click on that one, we can able to see the side menu. For that, let me target the class name that I have for that particular theme panel. So let me go back to my HTML to identify the class name. What's the class name for that one? I'm sure that you can able to see. This is where my other sign FA times, which means that closing symbol that you saw in the original design is formed. So I'm going to target this particular class name called themes container, because when I click on that themes panel, I want to see something to be happening, because the theme menu where we have the color options and the dark mode is hidden by default. We need to select it so that we can show or hide it based on the user interaction. So for that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this particular class name, and then down here I'm going to create a variable. Let me call this variable name as theme. I'm going to set this one to document.querySelector. What am I going to target? That particular class name for that particular theme panel, right? After selecting this one, what do we need to do? By default, the theme menu is closed. Now we need to find a way to open that theme panel. If you want to open the theme menu or the sidebar with the theme options to slide into view when the user clicks the bar icon or the hamburger icon, so for that, what I'm going to do, by using this variable theme, let's do this document.querySelector, and then let me go back to the HTML. I'm sure that you can see this div with an ID name called theme open. Why I need to target these IDs? Because this is an ID that was given to these bars that we have them in the design. So when I click on that one, I should be able to open the sidebar. So for the same, I need to target these 3 bars, hamburger sign that you see them there. So for that, I'm going to target this div with an ID name called theme open. Let me go back there, and then here is an ID. I have to use an hash. That's a theme open. Let me include an event on click. When I click on that particular hamburger sign, I want to bring back my side menu. That's exactly what you're going to do then there, right? So inside, I'm going to use this variable theme dot, I'm going to say class list dot add. I wanted it to be an active one. I hope this makes sense. What does that mean? When I click on that hamburger sign, I want the side menu to come out, because that side menu contains everything that we need: dark mode, light mode, and the color options that you can able to choose. So now this is what is going to happen. And then after this, we also have to adjust the CSS. Why do we have to adjust the CSS? Because when the user clicks on the bar icon, the active class is added to the themes container. So the CSS knows that when the themes container dot active is set, the menu moves into the view from the right. We also add the padding to the body so that we can ensure the page doesn't overlap with the menu. So let me add some padding so that it won't overlap. So I'm going to say document dot body dot style. I want to add a padding to the right. Let's say I'm going to set this one to 350 pixels. Why are we doing this? Because when the user clicks on the bars icon, the active class is added to the themes container. So the CSS knows that when themes container is active or set, the menu moves into the view from the right. For the same, we have to add the padding to the body so that we ensure the page doesn't overlap with the menu that we have. I hope this makes sense. Now what is the next? So let's go back to check what will happen. I'm going to refresh. Now when I click, the sidebar comes. For this dark mode and light mode, we already worked on it, isn't it so? For the dark mode and light mode, when I click on this one, we have already said this is what has to be happen. So when I click on this one, I'm sure that you can able to see it is working. Even for this color palette that you see them here, when I click this one, it's going to change the colors, because even for this one, we have already worked on it, as you can see them here. Now this portion that you see them here will ensure that when I click this close button, it's not going to close, because we are yet to write the logic for that one. As for now, what we have written is to just to bring this side menu. For us to close the theme panel, this is what we are going to do. What are we going to do? Again, when you click on this particular icon, we should be able to close. So for us to target this icon, what do we have to do? We need to pick it as an ID. What is an ID? Theme close. So I'm going to copy this, because when you target that close icon, it should be able to close. So here down, I'm going to say document dot query selector. Here, what is the ID? It's a close, isn't it so? When somebody clicks on it, we have to perform an action. What is the action? I'm going to use the arrow function. So what do you want to do? Theme is going to be an active, but this time we want to remove. We don't want to have that side menu, we want to remove. So make sure that this one has to be a remove. So close. Now the side menu has been closed. It's because of this remove. We are removing that one, and then we are also reducing the padding so that there won't be any overlapping. So this is exactly how we can create this toggle menu using JavaScript. I hope this was useful. If you need HTML and CSS, please comment in the comment section so that I can able to share. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Thank you. See you again.